everybody. So going live today for our Embodied Tarot reading. We're going to drop in a few minutes. I'm really excited to do this reading fully live today on Instagram, so we can just share all of this goodness with everybody who might be able to watch. So we're just going to do the full reading right here. Of course, if you're on the email list, you'll get the recording. So if you aren't able to watch the whole thing right now, or you're checking in later, yeah, absolutely, that will be available too. But gonna just take a little moment to drop in and start to tap into what Spirit might want to offer to the collective today. As we know, Spirit knows way better than I do who is going to be watching this and what they might be needing when they watch it. Hi, Michelle. So I'm just gonna trust. Yeah, so glad you can too. So I'm just gonna trust that what comes through is what is meant for you if you're tuning into it. So wherever you are in the world, let's take a few deep breaths together. And I'll invite you to bring a hand onto some part of your body where you'd like to connect in more deeply right now. For me, I'm bringing my hand to my low belly, checking in with this part. It's been a little bit active for me today, so starting to feel into the sensations in your body as you arrive with these messages that are here for you. It's tarot medicine here to help guide you in the next steps for your day, for your week. And your body coming along for the ride with that. So take a couple of breaths that really fill up your body and really empty out, really finding that space of emptiness and pausing for a moment before taking another sweet, nourishing breath in. I'll invite my guides and well ancestors, any guardians or angels that are here, whether they are part of my cohort or somebody's cohort who is watching this right now. Just going to ask that any messages come through that be for our collective highest and best in navigating this world that we are in and helping us to sit in our soul power. So let's see. Okay. Our first card out is the Seven of Wands. I have a feeling there's a friend that wants to come along for that ride. All right. So this is a really big card to be starting off with, acknowledging that many of us right now are in a little bit of a space of needing protection. Seven of Wands tends to pop up when we are having a something that is coming into our field that our brain wants to interpret as harmful. That might not actually be harmful, but it feels like it's harmful to us. And now we want to just right away strip away any judgment that we might have around our body interpreting, our brains interpreting something as being harmful when perhaps it isn't, and just acknowledge like we all show up to our lives with years and years of history of what our brain has learned is dangerous and not dangerous. So the Seven of Wands invites us into some awareness around what happens when our bodies feel like they have to be on edge all the time, and perhaps looking at how we can create some more generalized sense of safety for ourselves that we actually do have control over. So this is interesting. I was actually just talking to a client about this, so it's interesting that this card came out, that like when we don't necessarily have control over some of our external circumstances, it becomes even more powerful for us to find the safety that we can find within our own bodies. That is not always our default setting to feel safe in our bodies. So I want to really acknowledge that, but that's where we can do the work. Rather than making the work about what's coming at us from out here, we make the work about how can I tune into safety in here. So even if there's just one part of your body, I mean, literally, even if there's just one part where you can connect to a sense of safety, or there's one circumstance that you have control over where you can feel into a sense of safety, whether it's in your bed or in the shower or with a weighted blanket over you, finding that one thing as an anchor and starting to use that as a way to come back when the external is getting really intense and when our nervous system is wanting to respond in that kind of fight or flight mode. The other piece of Seven of Wands is that sometimes we actually do need to take action on the way that our nervous system is registering what's happening to us right now. So this isn't always about like we get triggered and we do something else, but often it's about like we get triggered and we do actually need to leave a situation, or we do need to set a boundary, or we do need to rest and allow ourselves to shut down for a little while. So this is a really beautiful card because it invites us into some awareness of like, what is your body asking for? And I just want to really empower you to go into your intuitive wisdom around, do I need to express something around this? Do I need to let my nervous system work out something around this right now? Or do I need to find a sense of safety in my body and let go of the external circumstances that may be triggering that? Okay. Now the card that came out with this is Six of Pentacles reversed, which is a card of giving and receiving. This is a very relational card. And as you can see from the image, there's this sense of almost like there's an energy that allows these coins, these sort of symbolic resources to float. That is that like circulating energy, this connective energy between all of us. So with it coming out with the Seven of Wands, we are looking at some situations perhaps around money, but also perhaps around just other resources like our time, our energy, our space, our physical space, our mental space, how we are showing up for others, and how we are showing up for ourselves, and how others can show up for us. So this can be a really, this whole like concept of like allowing our resources to kind of circulate through us can be a really huge and kind of triggering thing, which I think is you know, interesting. It's coming out with the Seven of Wands, acknowledging like, yeah, there might be some shit wrapped up in this for us right now. Like, what are we working on giving? And what are we working on receiving? And which of those is actually feeling edgier right now? I think we can go through cycles, but then most of us tend to have one or the other. That's like, no, I need to keep this because if I let it go, then I'm not going to be safe. Or no, I need to give all of this away because having it isn't going to be safe. Or if I don't take care of other people, I'm not going to be safe. So there's a lot of questions around safety and security all wrapped up in this right now, which given the energy of this time, you know, with us moving into the holiday season, which obviously has some major giving and receiving vibes, this is such a rich time to be diving into our relationship to it. How do we actually give from a full cup rather than you know, giving from resources that we don't actually have? And how do we kind of, you know, I posted about this last week actually, like so often we get in this space of this time is about me showing up for other people, whether it's organizing events or showing up to events or giving gifts or buying things, spending money on traveling perhaps. Like it can very much become about like how I am supposed to be in relationship to other people. And I want to just invite some awareness around how you might actually be able to show up for yourself, and just reminding yourself that like even during this time that can be such a heavy emphasis on others. And I mean, that's beautiful, right? Like connection is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I love showing up for other people. I love cooking. That's like my big thing. I love to cook for other people. And I also need to take care of myself. And we all need to do that. We all need those moments of being like, what actually is mine to give? That's the question. So, okay, let's see what else is coming through here. Alrighty, we have the Lovers. It has been a long time since I pulled this card, and this is just going to add so much richness to this conversation. So the Lovers I mean, first of all, I think when this card comes out, it's a really important moment to acknowledge I read tarot differently than a lot of people do. The Lovers to me is not actually about love. It's not actually about like partnership or being in relationship with other people. The Lovers card to me is about how we, what's the word I'm looking for? Project. There we go. Brain freeze. How we project what we are looking for ourselves onto other people. How we ask other people to show up for the things that we actually need. So when we're talking about giving and receiving, when we're talking about our relationship to being triggered, to needing to take some space for ourselves, to allowing our nervous system to have the responses that it's having, how often do we police those reactions? Do we tell ourselves what it is that we need to give or that we need to show up for despite what is happening in our bodies? How often do we do that because we think that if we do, then we're going to get something that we're looking for outside of us, that we're going to fill a piece of this hole. If I give the right gift to that person, then this part of myself will feel whole. If I, show up for this family thing, even though there's some discomfort around it for whatever reason, then this part of myself is going to feel whole. The Lovers challenges us actually to look at the ways that we're externalizing something that's internal. When we are looking for the love and the belonging and the acceptance outside of ourselves to come from other people rather than to come from within us. The magical thing is that when we can start to do this work with the Lovers, where we say like, okay, how can I actually cultivate this for myself, within myself, in my own life, instead of asking somebody else to do it in their life and then give it to me? Connection, like authentic, juicy, lovers, just yummy connection, now that can actually happen because we have two whole souls, or maybe a group of whole souls, coming together and meeting each other and connecting with each other and expanding and building up from there, rather than this concept of two halves equaling a whole. We have two wholes coming together. Yeah, two wholes coming together and creating something new. So this is this like kind of up and out energy that we also get with the sixes in general in the tarot. The potential for that. So we have to do this stuff first though. What came out with this is the Knight of Wands, which is going to take us in a slightly different direction because the Knight of Wands is our card of passion and of fire and of intensity and of, really like powerful feeling, right? And I mean, for this to come out with the Lovers, it's like, okay, yes, the Lovers is connecting to what I was saying before, but it also kind of wants to go its own way right now because we do have an opportunity. There's something being offered to us right now to jump into with our whole hearts, our whole souls, and our whole bodies to cultivate something powerful and new, to give ourselves permission to feel good in it. Like this is the crux of the Knight of Wands, is like, how can you move towards what feels good? How can you move with the rhythm that is authentic and yours and also like juicy? And this can be complex in relationship to other people, right? Like being able to move with our own vibe and our own, dance to the beat of our own drum, like that's all fine and good. But most of us have other people in our lives that we have to navigate, like, okay, but can we find some like harmony here? Can we find some way of interweaving our rhythms together? So as you navigate that, as you just invite some curiosity around that, what I'll say with the Knight of Wands in terms of its medicine is that it really invites us to look at what gives us energy and what takes energy from us. Not that we always want to be doing things that give us energy. That brings us back to the Six of Pentacles. We got to find this even balance so that we are giving and receiving and circulating energy through our system. But the Knight of Wands helps us to see when giving is actually giving and when receiving is actually receiving. Like when we actually do get energy from something. Do y'all ever notice sometimes that something that you think is supposed to be good for you is actually sapping your energy more than giving it? And then on the reverse, sometimes something that feels like, just kind of an onerous task on your to-do list, when you actually do it, it gives you energy. right? Like this is Knight of Wands stuff, but this is also the kind of like real nitty gritty, like in the tissues of your body awareness that allows us to then find our rhythms with other people and find like our authenticity with other people and actually express what it is that is feeling good in our system and maybe what isn't feeling good in our system in our relationships. And coming back to a place of safety around that, because it definitely requires us to start with that baseline of like, can I feel safe in my body, to then be like, okay, and then what feels good in my body. So we can kind of build on that and just bring some curiosity around it. All right, I think we've got one more card that wants to come out right now. Strength. This card, on the other hand, I have been pulling all the time for my own readings and for others right now. So this is a big energy with us, apparently, for the collective at this moment. So the irony of strength, in case I haven't gone through this with you before, the irony of strength is that it's actually all about vulnerability. Let me show you this image again. We have this woman, half lion, half woman, but either way, she is wearing this, very light shift dress, showing up to the wildness within her. There is this dichotomy of the lion and the lamb. And what you'll notice if you start to study tarot and look at a bunch of different tarot decks is that all of them tend to incorporate this dichotomy where you have somebody who is not wearing armor, not carrying a weapon, not doing anything aggressive or defensive in response to an energy that feels big, that feels wild, and that feels uncertain. And I mean, shit, that's our whole lives right now, right? Like this feeling of it being big and wild and uncertain. Sometimes I hear the words coming out of my mouth and it's like, yeah, duh, Alexi, that's everything right now. So, but what this reminds us of is that we have to be willing to show up to all of that intensity without our armor on, without trying to be like, right about things all the time, without having to like hold on to our ego. Like when I say with our armor on, I don't mean the things that actually help to keep us safe. I mean that in like the kind of machoistic like way of protecting our egos from harm, like our true authentic selves, like yes, they need protection sometimes. Like sometimes we do need to put boundaries and barriers up. And strength is all in finding like when is that really a necessity and when can we actually let our guard down a little bit? When can we meet the wild parts of other people that are maybe a little bit messy and difficult to show up to? But we start that by learning how to meet the wild parts of ourselves. Maybe we have not wanted to really show up to because it feels insecure, messy, untamed is definitely a good word for it. The parts, and sometimes we connect them with like our shadows, with the parts that we would really like to hide from other people. We start with hiding them from ourselves. So this invites us to actually get stronger in our ability to hold our boundaries, in our ability to feel safe in our bodies, in our ability to give and receive authentically and to feel pleasure. We get stronger in that by looking at the parts of ourselves that we have kind of shunted away and taking off all of the kind of heavy stories that we have about those parts and showing up to it as it is, showing up to the raw emotion as it is, whether it's fear or insecurity or desire. I mean, desire is such a wild thing. Like I've been talking about this a lot lately. Like we have so little understanding oftentimes of like why we want the things that we want. And it can be really uncomfortable to look at them because it brings us to the heart of like what it is that we're here to do, like what it is that our soul wants to do with this lifetime. Like our deepest desires are often rooted in that. And then we also get really intense deconstructions of what desire is because it can be connected to these things that our culture has labeled bad or wrong, especially around our sexuality and like actually feeling pleasure in our bodies. So yeah, strength asks us to show up to all of that and to just be with the raw emotion with less of the layers in between us and them. and reminding us over and over again that as we do that, we become more able to show up with gentleness, to show up with love and with softness and with ease in the really intense and combative moments that have unfortunately become a big part of our life in this culture, when we have to set boundaries, or when we, feel the need to challenge somebody, or when somebody shows up to challenge us, to call us in, to call us out. This is that energy of vulnerability tied with the authenticity. This is such a huge part of our connection and our interconnection. And just as a little side note, as we're coming into December, I'm very aware that we're like shifting towards 2021, which is a 5-year 2 + 2 + 1, which is the Hierophant. And so this is definitely a shifting time of like moving from this era, really, where we have said that there are figures of authority that get to be in control, to reclaiming and the way that my teacher Lindsay Mack said it, I really loved it. So I'm just gonna give it to you all too, as this juiciness, like democratizing on a like cultural level, not like on a governmental level, but on a cultural level, like reclaiming our knowledge and our knowing as human beings in relationship with each other. So we're moving to a period of like collective wisdom growing, of collectively kind of harvesting the wisdom from ourselves and from our authenticity. So this is the energy that we're moving into right now. And so we're playing in this really deep and intense water of like, how do we show up to other people? How do we show up to ourselves? And how can we let all of this be less guarded, so that we can actually get to the reality of what is true for us and what we need and what others need. So with that, let's take a moment to dive into our bodies and feel into this energy that's here right now. So I'll invite you to stand if you'd like to. I'm going to stay sitting because that's how I have my camera set up. But you are welcome to stand if you're in a place to. And we're going to invite in a really simple movement. So just starting to take your hands and rubbing them together and breathing into this. And starting to move the warmth of your hands over your body, especially across your heart, your belly, maybe your throat. May even feel good to touch your face. Breathe and let your body know that it's safe right now, that it's safe to feel what it's feeling in this moment in time. See if you can find maybe one place in your body where that feels real on a cellular level, feels real. And breathe and let it all kind of settle for a moment in that. And then when you're ready to, start to open your arms out wide, letting your heart move forward slightly. And you get to choose. Is out wide right here? Is out wide here? Is out wide way out here? You get to choose, okay? So inhale and let your body open. Let some energy pour out through your hands, through your heart center. And then gather up what you need right now. Take it into your heart space. Bring your palms onto your chest. Drink it in. And keep playing with this. Find a rhythm with your own breath where you inhale to open up. Exhale to call it in. And just start to notice how your body responds to this concept, to this process of giving and receiving right now. Of opening and closing. This is information gathering at the moment. That's all we're doing, is gathering data, how your body responds. So keep it going for a few more breaths. Deep inhales, call it in. Deep exhales, share it out. Lovely. And now ending with your hands somewhere on your body and taking a moment to let your sit bones drop heavily into the earth. And with your hands making contact with you, draw your awareness in. Now looking for a place that feels a little bit vulnerable, that feels perhaps a little bit wild or uncertain. And asking this part that's here right now, this vulnerable part, perhaps it's an inner child, perhaps it's a desire, perhaps it's a shadow. asking this part what it might say to you if you were to show up to it as you are right now, what it wants to say to you now that you're here without defense, now that you're here without trying to make it be anything other than exactly what it is right now. Yeah. And checking in with this part for as long as it feels safe and comfortable to you. You might just want to jump right to your journal, and I just want to encourage you to stay in your body for a few extra moments here. I'm just going to open up an energy channel, just sending so much love and some Reiki to all of you who are watching this or will watch this. Just a big bubble of light floating your way right now. Again, the guides can take care of getting it to you. Yeah. Let that wildness be here. Let that uncertainty be here. We got to stay in the messy for a little while. We got to stay in the messy because it's how we're going to connect and it's how we're going to build something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Michelle, I just saw your note. That was a big one. Receiving feels harder. Yeah, that's something to be with. Receiving feels harder. So maybe a little challenge for everybody watching this right now to notice what feels harder for you right now and to create some sacred space for yourself to do some work around that, whether it's through journaling or through movement or connecting with a provider that is supportive for you. Okay, I'll leave it there, my dears. Sending so much love your way.